tower beyond there.
The mountain pass. Yes, I see the village here on the map. Oh, thank God. But, Doctor, please, there's something else. I keep blacking out. It feels like I'm losing control.
I am aware of your recent problems, Miss Triana. In fact,
okay, listen here, you knocked up piece of shit. The doctor's dead.
Doctor?
I fucking killed him. I killed him because Amnesia Rebirth is a terrible game and I'm tired of pretending it's not. This guy represents one of the core issues I have in this game's narrative. So listen to me and listen closely.
Dr. Mathieu. Damn it.
Amnesia Rebirth is the fourth installment in the Amnesia series, if you count Justine. It is probably the biggest letdown fictional games ever produced. Now I know everyone gives him a shit for pigs playing shit and I am one of those said people, but the saving graces of that game were the story and the soundtrack. Gotta be the best audiobook you ever played. However, today I'm talking about the narrative shit stain that's left the delivery room of fictional's catalog of horror. Now let's make like a 1930s French intercourse and get into this shit. The game begins not with a quote like you were expecting, but with a 3 a.m. late night depression monologue that says a lot without saying anything at all. It goes on for way too fucking long as we get a panoramic view of our unremarkable crew of forgettable characters. Okay, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but the short segment highlights everything wrong with the narrative of the game, and I'll explain more later. So after that introduction to postpartum depression, we begin on the plane. Sadly, not the same one from Bioshock, and we are met with Salim, who's written as Tossi's husband, but the wiki states that he's the third gun from the expedition because of the first two shots he missed back at home with Tossi. After calming her husband down, the plane gets hijacked by a mysterious-looking tower in another dimension. Tossi blacks out. We are greeted by the second biggest fucking problem in the gameplay. I am of course talking about the jump scare flashing screens. If you played this game on release like I did, this shit would jump out at you like fucking PTSD flashbacks written by people who don't have PTSD. Seriously, this shit grinded my ass so much that they had to release a patch that minimized the flashes, but in my humble opinion, should have been removed entirely because they're fucking stupid and serve just to annoy the player, with cheap jump scares in a series not known for its jump scares. So Tossi crawls her way to Solanum and gets back to her senses for a minute. After we get out of the plane, we are hit by a barrage of flashbacks, and more fucking flashbacks the more we linger in the area, even though the player would be moving along after stepping outside. There's way too many unimportant flashbacks that we've already figured out by the intro alone. We then make our way to the caves and we see Tossi blocking the sun with her hand. Keep this in mind because it never comes back for the rest of the game, so like, why fucking bother including it at all? In the caves we get even more goddamn flashbacks and we're spoon-fed sympathy for the cast of characters that we haven't seen yet. Oh wait, there's one of them here, but she's dead, so get used to that feeling of disappointment as we go through the game. So then Salim leaves a handful of notes for anyone to find, mainly Tossi because she's the main character.
I crashed.
After stumbling around in the dark somewhere, quite literally might I add, we are introduced to the so-called sanity meter of the game in the form of this bullshit. Tossi transforms into the menstrual monster when she hits that time of the month and ends up at the other side of the random ass cave. How did she get here in the dark and enclosed space? Don't know, don't question it. Anyway, we continue forward and we find out what the MacGuffin on her wrist is, and it's the Traveler's Locket that we've heard about from the Dark Descent. Except it's even more contrived and confusing in this game since throughout the game, the locket only brings Tossi into random ass places that have nothing to do with her journey, or it's not in use at all and the rifts open up wherever the fuck they like. I already liked the concept of the Traveler's Locket and was intrigued before this game even came out. But now my investment is ruined because it's just a fucking plot device, just like another fucking thing we're going to discuss later. The Dark World is a missed opportunity. This is one of the main visits we take here, and you'll notice a pattern every time we go throughout the video. Anyway, after Tossi graciously falls through another fucking plot convenience. Okay, before I go any further, Tossi falls a lot in this game. Like, seriously. It happens way too fucking much, and while it's supposed to increase tension and fear for the player, it just ends up annoying the hell out of the player. It's like I'm playing fucking Outlast or Tomb Raider with how many falls this bitch takes. Don't believe me? Here, I put together a fucking montage for how many times this happens. I rest my case, but we're not done yet. The dream sequence ends with the baby growing in the sky because deep metaphor, I guess. Here's the icing on the cake for why this fake-ass tension for the player engagement is complete, utter fucking hubris. Tassi is pregnant. Okay. It's all making sense now. Instead of playing a horror game in a well-beloved franchise, we are playing through a Planned Parenthood PSA about the dangers of being a pregnant woman in 1930s Africa. If you were dropped on your head as a baby, this is the game you deserve. You also need to check on your baby every now and then, or else the game forces you to do it anyway because you care so much about this child. Oh yeah, and Salim is dead. You probably figured it out by now because the game doesn't hang on his death for very long. Yeah, he just fucking dies and is hardly ever brought up in the game again. He's just a plot donor. Don't think about it. He didn't go out to get milk, he just got us a shitty lantern and died. His last request is to care for the child, but this feat proves fucking impossible after we leave his corpse and the cave collapses for some fucking reason, and Tassi is caught in the rubble in another situation where she should have fucking died, but she doesn't because the button oven is just plot armor. Again, this happens way too fucking much for me to care about what happens to Tassi or the baby. How am I supposed to care about their safety when Tassi, for one, literally cannot fucking die, even if you throw her off a fucking cliff? She just brushes it off, changes the pad, and then she's good to go until another life-threatening accident happens. Fellas, I don't think this is how you're supposed to represent the struggles of pregnancy and motherhood in a horror game. This is the exact fucking opposite of what you're trying to explain, or at least what I'm supposed to feel anyway. Oh god, before I go off on another tangent, we have to go up along this cliff to the fort. Easy enough. However, before we enter, we got our first sighting of the Empress Tahana. On this episode of Scooby-Doo and the Blue Ghost Bitch, the plot thickens. This is so fucking stupid, man. Anyway, we head inside the fort and, admittedly, this place is kinda good. For the first playthrough. And it did get my anxiety up because I didn't know what monsters I would run into. But then I finished the game and upon my third and fourth playthrough, I just don't give a fuck anymore. As if I wasn't already annoyed by the contrived bullshit that Tassi and her flashbacks are throwing at me, we get an Easter egg of the Dark Descent in the fort. This not only raises more questions, but it reminds me of a much better game. So we need to get an artillery shell for the tank to blow open the gates of the fort. After grabbing the key and heading to the building, we need to get inside the locked room at the other side of the map. Take note of two things here. 1. To the right of the room, there's a warning sign about drinking laudanum while pregnant. According to the narrative, this is supposed to shock the player and make them worry about the baby. But instead it makes my fucking eyes roll because the game made it abundantly clear that no harm will ever come to the baby or Tassi. So why the fuck was this included at all? Also, by the time you leave, there will be a grenade rigged to blow open the door. Except not really, because on one side the grenade won't go off at all, and Tassi will think it's a dud. Then, in another instance, it will blow up anyway. This game can't make up its fucking mind. Alright, so we assemble the shell and get back to the tank to blow open the gates. Easy, right? Wrong. This is a modern day Amnesia game, so every fucking thing that can go wrong will go wrong, and a lethal dose of bad luck smacks Tassi right in the face. Oh wait, she's not fucking dead! So she gets healed again, and after she leaves the tank, the baby's okay. You have got to be fucking kidding me. I swear to God, this game is trying to pry the sympathy out of my skull, and I'm just not buying it. We then have to get out of the cistern, and once we make it out, the game tries to give us a plan B, and we are swept away in a river current. Tassi somehow doesn't go into early labor or drown while falling through the current, and then she goes to check on her baby with utmost care and attention. But before the moment can sit, the Baba Yaga appears again, and before you know it, we're at the oasis, and we find some things out here that are supposed to give us a revelation about Tassi. But it does absolutely nothing, because the game's narrative is so inconsistent, and at this point, I really don't care, and I just want to go back to the Dark World. So the good doctor calls again and leaves vague hints for Tassi to go to therapy, and spouts some plot twist villain jargon. After we climb up the ladder, we see the smoke to the village where we're supposed to get to. It looks pretty close, right? It sure does, dear viewer, and it looks like it'll be smooth sailing from here, right?
You're a fucking idiot.
Of course not. We fall into some quicksand back in the Dark World, and Tassi suffers a brain aneurysm on landing. She doesn't check on the baby this time after fucking falling from 10 feet, but it's not important. Again, to reiterate, if you were dropped on your head as a baby, you got Mama Tassi to thank for that. So at this point, the problems of the game just keep getting bigger and bigger. We're in this alien super lab now and we need to get out. Sounds simple enough. To do that, we need a little help with an orb. Yeah, that orb. So you know what's coming next. So after Tassi accidentally takes a Smurf off fucking life support and solves a puzzle, we are being chased by the Shadow, the real hero of the story. So it chases Tassi into another goddamn dream sequence. If you didn't get the message the first time, basically this one is telling you that the first child is probably, maybe, questionably, and absolutely dead. I know, just a gut feeling that I have. What the fuck am I playing? Anywho, we end up in some catacombs and Tassi's pregnancy has advanced, which is so fucking retarded and it raises so many more questions I can't be bothered with. So after a little while, we get chased by the Shadow again into the next area where we end up in the tomb of Tin Hanan from the Dark Descent. Okay, cool. Anyway, we need to open the portal again to get to the next fucking plot hole, but before we do that, we need Vitae. So we do some puzzles here and there and we get to the main attraction of the peak bullshit that is the Vitae extraction scene. I fucking hate this for so many reasons. First off, Alex is just fucking dead. 2. Leon. Fucking Leon. Okay, we'll get back to him in a minute because I have plenty to fucking say about him. Third, we find Richard being slapped around like a bitch from an imp in the next room. But after we save him, he attempts to fucking murder Tassi and possibly the baby. I mean, that bitch took a rock to the face and she still looks like this at the end of the game. Then she She-Hulks out and kills Richard off screen. God, I hate this game. So after she comes to, the baby has a delayed reaction to the cringe I have witnessed, and we have Richard's life force now, and we're supposed to feel bad. Nah, fuck that guy. All of the characters in this game fucking suck. The serial rapist Leon the Freak tries to manhandle Tassi back into his grubby little hands, and Tassi ends up fucking falling again 20 feet into a sewer. And then has a flashback again about Leon once more, smashing you over the fucking head that guy Leon might not be a good guy because he wanted to get his dick wet. The game continues to hang on to this plot thread for way too fucking long. Like, even hearing Tassi's dialogue here is like hearing a dev's self-insert group therapy session for domestic abuse, and again, it just stays on this topic for way too long. Anyway, we get back to the portal room with the Vitae, and in true Tassi fashion, everything goes fucking wrong, and the Shadow tries to stop us from entering the portal. So we take a detour through the Roman ruins, which ended up being kind of a ghoul nest. After that, we make it back to the portal, and the bullshit continues. The Shadow breaks through and breaks the orb in the portal, and we are sent back to the fucking Dark World again. Someone please just put me out of my fucking misery. So after the 50th contraction that Tassi has endured, we end up back in the Dark World. Again. And we find out that the baby is sick of all things. I wonder why that could be. Oh wait, it's because the baby has the same illness as Tassi's last child. This does not fucking work for me. I just can't bring myself to care or be concerned about Tassi or her child. I'm not a woman, but this game is giving me an impression of postpartum depression that I wasn't prepared for. Here I thought I was going in for a thrilling experience compared to The Dark Descent, or a story-rich experience like Soma is, but then maybe I thought maybe it would be like being a pregnant woman. However, I'm experiencing nothing but contempt and disappointment for this game. Mind you, I came into this with an open mind, and I initially really liked this game. For the most part, up until I was close to the ending. This is where the most part of my investment comes to a screeching fucking halt. So after Tassi eats shit on the way to the exit, we enter the bus depot and we have a choice to make. Get Tassi's baby vaccinated or reject societal pressure. It really doesn't matter what you do because we learn later that none of your choices matter. The only narrative function that this game serves is getting your stupid ass to the end. So after getting aboard the not-Black Mesa transit system, more fucking hijinks ensues, and the game is still padding out the runtime and taking a lantern away as a result. Oh, and Tassi falls another fucking 20 feet from the gondola and possibly breaks her hip on the way down. But it doesn't matter. The plot armor just needs to flex on us a bit more. So now we need to escape the Dementors and get to an elevator that'll take us back home, where we get a good look at the Half-Life 2 Citadel, and now Tassi is set on revenge. Just fucking end already. So we are brought to the last dream sequence, which again does absolutely nothing for me, as it's trying so hard to make me sad. But it's just pissing me off. Tassie wakes up again and her waters are broken, as she is so eloquently puts, and somehow has a ruptured uterus with all the fucking falls that she has taken. Instead of checking on the baby, Tassie should have been equipped with a fucking life alert necklace, just to alert the doctors that she's fallen and can't get up because the plot armor has a kink and she has major fucking brain damage. For fuck's sake, I just can't fucking take this game seriously. So now we got to slowly crab crawl our way to the village as the tension rises and the contractions will make your teeth vibrate. I fucking hate this shit so much. So then a very pregnant, very crying, very angry, and very fucking stupid lady comes waltzing into a village, banging on doors, smashing pottery, and making the actress actually go into labor while recording her lines. Makes her way all the way up to the tower, where everyone is fucking dead. Then we have gone to cut content purgatory. But we can't stop yet. Tassie walks into the next room and gets caught in a fucking bear trap and strung up on the roof. Alright, I'm about to fucking crash out. This is ridiculous. Completely fucking ridiculous. This game wants to kill its protagonist so bad it's like I'm playing a Naughty Dog game. I'm actually losing my goddamn mind at this point. I just want the game to end. Oh wait! We actually meet a Resident Evil villain pretending to be an Amnesia character. And she serves as another throwaway character just like... what's his name? Salim? Salem? I can't remember. And neither does the game. So Tassie, who somehow doesn't have a miscarriage while this is happening, has enough strength to run away from Yasmin while she gives chase, which then she catches up to us, and before we're given a sweet release, the good doctor shoots at the psycho bitch but misses Tassie and hits Yasmin instead. Totally undeserved. She was only trying to end my misery, but now we need to woman up and shit out the rugrat. Here we are at the main attraction of this narrative as a whole, everyone. Giving birth in a dank mineshaft in the middle of ass-fuck Algeria. In true Hollywood fashion, the actual passing of the baby takes 3 minutes and not hours like how it actually is. This scene is completely unnecessary and only gets dumber. So the good doctor goes into his Disney villain arc and steals the baby, making Tassie Hulk out and telepathically put her pants back on. Don't hurry up or anything. This motherfucker is literally waiting for Tassie to get her smelly ass up and get to the baby before he dumps her off at foster care. Now we're at the final chase, and I have to admit, this scene actually kind of works. Environment-wise, it's a great set piece for a chase. But the fucking game has no restraint and continues to flash our screens with flashbacks. You know, this game might have actually stood on its own if it was an Amnesia game. I love Amnesia, and I always will. But this game doesn't know how to Amnesia properly. So now we get to the tower to get the doctor. But not right now. We need to slam the brakes on the flow state that this ADHD riddled fucking narrative has conjured up to waste more of our fucking time. Actually, it's warranted this time just so I can mentally prepare for the bullshit ending that we're about to witness. In true Amnesia fashion, this game has multiple endings. All of them are fucking terrible. Except for the one that at least manages to give me some catharsis for this fucking train wreck of a narrative. So Tassie gets up to the throne room, kills the good doctor, and is met face to face with Blue Waffle herself, Tin Hanan, the motherfucker of us all. So she comes clean to us that all of our choices didn't make any goddamn impact, and even if you vaccinated the baby, it doesn't fucking matter because the narrative already made up his mind as soon as Tassie got her cherry popped. At the end of the day, you're still a monster, and you're not getting cured. Tough shit, bitch. If this is what it's like to be a mother, then I got some serious fucking questions to ask the good folks at Frictional Games. Actually, stop. Before we go any further, how in the fuck did Tassie get back to the plane at the beginning of the game? Simon says that she went back to Salim, but she went past them a fucking continent away, crashed out, and woke up at the plane.
In Paris.
Huh? This is not clever writing. This is fucking lazy and stupid. The answers to the questions in the game only lead to more questions, or just disappointment altogether. Now, how do we end this miserable fucking experience? Leave the baby with Blue Waffle? Get turned into a ghoul? No. Leave with the baby and go to Paris? That's fucking stupid, but okay, I guess. Or just destroy the whole damn place, end the suffering, and kill the blue smurf bitch and ourselves in the process. Yes. Yeah. This is the best ending we can muster. It's not a lot, but it works. So, that ends Amnesia Rebirth. My god, what a fucking waste of time. I just can't with this game. Every time I play it, it gets harder. And I'd rather be playing a Machine for Pigs again. Yeah, you heard me. The level design and art direction is great, but everything else is fucking shit. And I'm the kind of guy who makes detailed deep dives of these games. I am going to take this job seriously and cover this game in full. But I just wanted to get my thoughts out and air out my dirty laundry with this fucking mess. I know a majority of people actually like this game, and more power to them, but by God, this just doesn't work for me. I get the story that it's trying to tell, but it's horrendously out of balance in terms of gameplay and story, and it just fucks up both of them in the process. It's a story about motherhood and the lengths a mother will go to for her child, but it's so fucking awful at delivering that message, and completely disrespects the protagonist as a result. But don't worry, because Tassi is a strong, independent woman who don't need no man, and she can take care of herself by falling off cliffs, getting her ribs crushed by tanks, falling off more fucking cliffs, taking a beating by fickle bitches, and she can just dust herself off with the endless supply of fucking self-validating and coping.
Tessie, I am still Tessie. No, don't be so fucking selfish. Pull yourself together.
Tassi is not a fucking character. She is so fucking frustrating and annoying. To give credit, the actress does an incredible job with the material that she's worked with, but Tassi just grinds my ass so much that I just wish I had a full game with Justine instead. Not just a DLC, but a full-length game with Justine and her complexities as a character. Her story is way more interesting than whatever the fuck this ended up being. When I first started the Amnesia series, I wanted so bad to explore the Dark World and learn more about Alexander and his people. And I got that, but at the cost of a good experience. And these Rebirth is the biggest letdown from fictional games I've ever played. And I hope that they don't make the same mistake twice. Just like Tassi and her... Oh shit.